What if I told you that the generation that preached till death do us part is now divorcing at rates we've never seen before? While everyone's talking about millennials and Gen Z destroying marriage, there's a hidden epidemic happening right under our noses. And it's not the young people getting divorced. It's your grandparents. I'm talking about gray divorce. Divorce after the age of 50. And the statistics are absolutely mind-blowing. We're not talking about a small increase here. We're talking about divorce rates that have tripled for people over 65 since the 1990s. Tripled. Let that sink in. This is the same generation that told us to work on our marriages, to stick it out, to never give up. The generation that witnessed their parents stay together through thick and thin, no matter what. And now, they're walking away from 30, 40, even 50-year marriages like it's nothing. Today, we're diving deep into why this is happening, what it means for families across America, and the brutal truth about what happens when you divorce after decades together. Because trust me, this isn't just about two people splitting up. This affects everyone. The adult children, the grandchildren, the financial devastation that ripples through entire families. Let's get into it. First, let's talk numbers, because you need to understand just how massive this shift really is. In 1990, only about 5% of people getting divorced were over the age of 50. Fast forward to today, that number has more than doubled to over 11%. But here's where it gets really crazy. For people 65 and older, the divorce rate has literally tripled. We went from roughly 2 divorces per 1,000 married people in that age group in 1990 to about 6 per 1,000 today. Now you might be thinking, okay, 6 per 1,000 doesn't sound that dramatic. But remember, we're talking about people who have been married for decades. These aren't newlyweds figuring out they made a mistake. These are people who have built entire lives together, raised children together, bought homes together, planned retirements together. And while the overall divorce rate in America has actually been declining for younger generations, gray divorce keeps climbing. It's like watching a train in slow motion that nobody wants to acknowledge. The boomer generation, the largest generation in American history, is now entering their retirement years. And instead of enjoying their golden years together, they're hiring divorce attorneys. Here's another stat that'll blow your mind. Among people who get divorced after 50, about 1 in 4 have been married for more than 30 years. 3 decades. That's longer than some of you watching this have been alive. Imagine spending 30 years with someone, building a life, creating memories, and then one day deciding you can't do it anymore. Researchers call this the empty nest effect, but it's so much deeper than that. Something fundamental is shifting in how older Americans view marriage, commitment, and happiness. And we need to talk about why. So what changed? Why are boomers, the generation that was supposed to have the strongest marriages, walking away in record numbers? There are several major factors driving this, and they all connect to create this perfect storm. Factor 1, financial independence for women. Let's be real. One of the biggest reasons women stayed in unhappy marriages in previous generations was economic necessity. They couldn't leave because they couldn't support themselves. But boomer women, they were the first generation to enter the workforce in massive numbers. They have careers. They have retirement accounts. They have Social Security in their own names. For the first time in history, women in their 60s and 70s have the financial means to leave marriages that aren't working. They're not trapped anymore. And that's powerful. That's liberation. But it's also creating this wave of late-life divorces that nobody predicted. Factor 2, we're living way longer. Here's something people don't think about. When marriage was created as an institution, people died at 50, maybe 60 if they were lucky. You got married at 20, you had kids, you raised them, and by the time they left home, you maybe had 10 or 15 years left together. That's manageable, even if you're not that happy. But now, people are living into their 80s and 90s routinely. If you get married at 25 and stay married until 80, that's 55 years with the same person. That's an insanely long time. And if you're 65 and unhappy, you might be looking at 20 or 30 more years of life. That's a long time to be miserable. So people are doing the math. They're thinking, do I really want to spend the next 2 or 3 decades in a marriage that doesn't fulfill me? And for more and more people, The answer is no. Factor 3. Cultural shift around happiness and fulfillment. The boomers are the generation that invented the idea of personal fulfillment. The self-help movement, the therapy culture, the idea that you deserve to be happy. They raised their kids with this mindset, but they're also applying it to themselves now. Previous generations stayed together out of duty, obligation, religious conviction, or social pressure. But boomers, they're questioning all of that. They're asking, why should I stay in a marriage that makes me unhappy just because we've been together for 30 years? And society doesn't have a good answer for them anymore. Factor 4. Growing apart over decades. Here's the thing nobody talks about. People change. Massively. The person you married at 25 is not the same person at 65. Your values shift. Your interests change. Your goals evolve. And sometimes, two people just grow in completely different directions. When you have kids, you have this shared project that keeps you together. You're both focused on raising the children, managing the household, building careers. But once the kids leave, once you retire, suddenly you're staring at each other across the dinner table and realizing you have nothing in common anymore. You don't like the same things. You don't want to do the same activities. You've become strangers who happen to live in the same house. And that realization hits hard. Factor 5. Infidelity and second chances. Let's not dance around this. Infidelity plays a huge role in gray divorce. Sometimes it's recent infidelity, but often it's affairs that happened years or even decades ago that were never fully resolved. The hurt never healed. The trust never returned. And finally, after years of carrying that pain, someone decides they're done. Or sometimes, someone starts an affair in their 60s or 70s and decides they want to pursue this new relationship. They want one more shot at real love before they die. And they're willing to blow up their entire life to get it. Now let's talk about what nobody wants to discuss. The money. Because gray divorce is financially devastating in ways that divorcing at 30 or 40 just isn't. When you divorce young, you have time to rebuild. You can work more years. You can save more money. You can recover from splitting your assets. But when you divorce at 65 or 70, you're done. This is it. There's no recovery period. You're living on whatever you've got, and now you have to split it in half. Let's start with the house. For most boomers, their home is their biggest asset. It's where they plan to age in place. It's where their kids grew up. It's full of memories and equity. But when you divorce, someone has to buy out the other person, or you sell it and split the proceeds. Either way, both people are now facing a housing crisis in their retirement years. And with housing prices where they are today, good luck affording anything decent on half your retirement income. A lot of gray divorcees end up in small apartments or having to move in with their adult children. That retirement dream of the beach house or the mountain cabin, gone. Now let's talk about retirement accounts. 401ks, IRAs, pensions, all of that gets divided. You spent 40 years building up these accounts, and now you're splitting them right when you need them most. There's no time to make up for this loss. You're withdrawing from these accounts, not contributing to them anymore. Social Security is another nightmare. If you're divorced after 10 years of marriage, you can claim benefits based on your ex-spouse's earnings. But the calculations get complicated, and a lot of people end up with less than they planned for, especially women who took time off work to raise kids and have lower lifetime earnings. Healthcare is probably the scariest part. If you're under 65 and you divorce, you lose your spouse's health insurance. You're buying individual coverage until you hit Medicare age, and that is expensive. We're talking thousands of dollars a month in some cases. But even after 65, healthcare costs in retirement are massive. Medicare doesn't cover everything. You need supplemental insurance. You need prescription drug coverage, long-term care insurance. All of these costs are more manageable with two incomes and two people sharing expenses. When you're alone, it's crushing. Here's a stat that should terrify everyone. Women over 65 who are divorced have poverty rates that are significantly higher than married women in the same age group. We're talking about educated, professional women who work their whole lives, and they're struggling to pay for basic necessities in retirement because they got divorced. And here's the reality that a lot of gray divorcees face. They have to keep working. That retirement at 65 they planned for? Not happening. They're working into their 70s, sometimes their 80s, just to survive, because they don't have enough money to live on anymore. The rule of thumb financial advisors use is that you need about 70 to 80% of your pre-retirement income to maintain your lifestyle in retirement. But when you divorce, you're suddenly living on maybe 40 or 50%, and you're doing it in two separate households. The math just doesn't work. Now let's talk about something that gets overlooked in all of this: the adult children. Because when your parents divorce after decades of marriage, it absolutely destroys you in ways people don't understand. You thought your family was solid. You thought your parents were happy, or at least content. Your entire childhood, your entire understanding of your family history gets rewritten in an instant. Everything you thought you knew was a lie, or at least incomplete. And suddenly, you're not just dealing with your own emotions. You're managing your parents' emotions too. You're the mediator. You're the therapist. You're the one trying to keep the peace during holidays. You're the one dealing with your mom crying about your dad, or your dad's anger and bitterness. Speaking of holidays, those are ruined forever now. Whose house do you go to for Thanksgiving? How do you split Christmas? What about your kids' birthdays? Every family celebration becomes a negotiation, a source of stress and conflict. And your kids, the grandchildren, they lose the picture of what they thought their grandparents' relationship was. That stable, loving example of long-term commitment, gone. They're watching their grandparents navigate dating in their 70s. It's confusing and uncomfortable for everyone. Here's another brutal reality. Adult children often become caregivers for their divorced parents much earlier than they would have otherwise. When parents are married, they take care of each other as they age. But when they're divorced and living separately, that burden falls on the kids. And sometimes adult children have to provide financial support. If one parent is struggling financially after the divorce, guess who gets a call? The kids. And now you're in this impossible position of trying to help your parents while raising your own kids and planning for your own retirement. Gray divorce also creates these weird family dynamics where adult children feel forced to take sides. Maybe you relate more to your mom's perspective. Maybe you're angrier at your dad. And suddenly you have a strained relationship with one parent because of the divorce, even though you're a grown adult. A lot of adult children end up in therapy trying to process their parents' divorce because nobody prepares you for this. Everyone talks about how hard divorce is on young children, but nobody acknowledges how devastating it is when your parents divorce when you're 30, 40, 50 years old. So what do we learn from all of this? What does the gray divorce epidemic teach us about marriage, commitment, and building a life with someone? Lesson 1. You have to keep working on your marriage. The biggest lesson is that marriage isn't something you achieve and then forget about. It's not like getting a degree or buying a house. It's a living thing that requires constant attention, communication, and effort. The couples who make it to their golden years happily are the ones who never stop dating each other, never stopped communicating, never stopped growing together. You can't just coast for 30 years raising kids and building careers and expect your marriage to be strong when you finally have time for each other. You have to nurture it the whole way through. Lesson 2. Maintain your individual identity. One pattern we see in gray divorce is people who completely lost themselves in the marriage. They became only a parent or only a spouse, with no individual identity or interests. And when the kids leave, they don't know who they are anymore. The healthiest marriages seem to be ones where both people maintain their own friendships, hobbies, and interests while also sharing some together. You need to be a whole person on your own, not just half a couple. Lesson 3. Address problems early. So many gray divorces happen because of issues that were never fully resolved. Infidelity that was swept under the rug. Resentments that built up over decades. Communication that broke down years ago. And by the time people finally address these issues, it's too late. The damage is done. Lesson 4. Financial transparency matters. A lot of gray divorces have financial components. One person was hiding spending, or one person made financial decisions without consulting the other, or they never planned for retirement together. Financial infidelity and financial incompatibility kill marriages just as surely as emotional or physical infidelity. Lesson 5. Have realistic expectations. The boomer generation grew up on fairy tales and happily ever after. But real marriage isn't like that. It's hard. It's work. There will be seasons where you're not happy, where you're just surviving. And that's normal. The question is whether you're both committed to working through those seasons together. Look, gray divorce is complicated. On one hand, I absolutely support anyone's right to leave an abusive, toxic, or dead marriage, regardless of age. Life is too short to be miserable, and sometimes divorce is the right answer. But on the other hand, the statistics show that gray divorce often leads to financial devastation, emotional trauma for entire families, and outcomes that aren't necessarily happier than staying married would have been. If you're young and watching this, the lesson is clear. Choose your partner carefully, work on your marriage constantly, address problems early, and never take your relationship for granted, because decades go by faster than you think. And if your parents are going through a gray divorce, know that your feelings are valid. It's okay to be angry or sad, and you don't have to pick sides. Take care of yourself first. Thanks for watching. If this video made you think, hit that like button and subscribe. And let me know in the comments, has gray divorce affected your family? Let's talk about it.